Welcome to Breaking Ice and Building Bridges from Possibilities. I'm Kelly Johnson.
And I'm Byron Jackson. Glad you're here.
Connecting a community through conversation.
Welcome to the Possibilities Podcast, where we are breaking the ice and building bridges. My name is Derrick Sire, and I am a longtime friend of the family, friend of the show here. I've been a part of the Possibilities family going on 11 years now. And I also have podcasts here on their networking station. And we have some wonderful guests with us today that are going to share with us a little bit about themselves. And we're going to build a bridge here today. Me to you, you to each other, us to the rest of Oklahoma City. And we're going to have some good conversation. You ready?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. I will let Monica go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Monica Mackey. I'm obviously live here in Oklahoma City. I'm not really a native of Oklahoma City, but I went all through school and have lived because of my chosen career with AT&T, if I'm allowed to say that, have lived in Texas and California, but have been back for 9 years now.
Back for 9 years. I'm always interested in people who leave and come back to Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. I absolutely do. But I know people who either can't wait to get out or people who can't wait to come back. And I'm always interested in people who come back.
Well, I decided, let me come back to Oklahoma to see if this is where I want to retire, because I had friends here, very, very dear friends. And so it was, let's start here and see if this is going to stick. And then if not, I'm here in the middle and can go any direction.
Absolutely.
East, west, north, south, and kind of go from there. So it's still up in the air. I doubt that I will stay here. I think just because I enjoyed living other places.
Yeah.
And I still want to do that. Yeah.
And so when you think of living, do you think living is like where you always come back to? Or do you think living like 6 months or living 6 months, living 3 months? Like, how do you define where home is?
Home is where your heart and the people that you love. So where you live doesn't matter to me. It's a place.
I love that.
And so I think that really doesn't matter. And sometimes you can think, I'm going to stay somewhere 6 months and think, okay, this isn't it. It's time to go elsewhere. Right. Or I'm going to stay here much longer just so I can experience these people because I find it interesting or I have a connection there. Yeah. So I think you have to be really open to that. Otherwise, I think you're going to miss a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I want to come back to that. We have another guest here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Blair Hill Howard. I'm a intern at Possibilities here. So
really,
I've started. I want to say 2 months ago, off and on for like a little project for school. Okay. And honestly, I'm very excited, very nervous to kind of speak on a podcast for the first time.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is your first podcast?
Yes, this is my first time.
Mine too.
Yours too?
Mine too.
This is amazing. It's always fun to come across people that have done it for the first time, because I've probably done 200 of these. And so sitting down in front of a mic and just having a conversation, it's almost like you get to the point where the mic disappears and the people are the only thing that exists. And you have maybe a narrative to push or maybe some questions that you want to get in. But this stuff is it's a way to capture the conversation. And so hopefully you'll get used to the environment, the setup, and you'll be able to capture some really cool connections. So one of the things that I see right off the bat, as we're talking about building bridges, is that we have a age discrepancy, an age disparity in the room. And I'm being very presumptuous for those that cannot see our guest. One is one age and one is another, not the same. If you don't mind sharing, maybe a little life experience that you think the other could benefit from, based on the life that you've lived so far. I'll say it a different way. You've lived a life. You've lived a life. I'm sure you can each learn something about each other. What do you think the other person can learn from the life that you've lived?
You want me to go first since I'm the eldest of the two? Derrick asked originally if there was a subject that was taboo, and I thought jokingly, I'll say my age. And maybe I should have. That was the first first thing you said. So you read my mind. Let's see. I think, don't get wrapped up in the minutia. Is one thing, and this is easier said than done, but don't be afraid. And then secondly, don't be afraid to be yourself. And that is much easier said than done, but fear keeps a lot of great adventures away.
Ooh, for sure. That's good.
And that you can look back, and I think a lot of us that are have lived many years can say, why did I not do that? Yeah. Why didn't I take that chance? Yeah. And sometimes you can't financially or obligations. I mean, sometimes you just can't. But when you really think, I'm going to try it. If it's not going to kill me or bankrupt me or someone, it can always be fixed. So I just say, don't get in your own way, and don't let other people make you feel that fear to try something.
Okay, now you said 5 things. You said you're really going to give us. So you said 5. You said
I feel like I can enjoy it.
And I'll recap them for you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be you. Don't let other people make you afraid. Right? Don't get caught in the minutia. And I'm missing one. So we'll go with 4. Yeah, I want to go back to number 1 because I think this is something that I have a 18-year-old and I have a 17-year-old, and I'm not sure how close to them you are. But I know that you're a little bit older than Blair. And so Blair's probably closer to my kids than you are. But they have some things that consume their minds that seem really big right now. And I keep telling them it's based on the number of years that you've lived. Like your experience pool is only so deep. And as someone that has lived a little bit more life, I'm telling you, that's not serious. That what to me, that's minutia, right? Give us some examples of some things that maybe you stumbled on or spend too much time thinking about, considering. Oh, be yourself. That was the 5th one. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. And so what is some minutia that you feel like maybe in your late teens, early 20s, mid 20s that you got caught up in that later on in life just didn't really mean that much?
Comparing yourself to others.
Comparison.
Okay.
Big time comparison. Your level of worthiness based on that. And that can really catapult you if it's something that drives you, or it can really hold you back. And I see that a lot in social media today. Yeah. And how there's all this noise everywhere and all these images that you compare yourself to. Yeah. And it's really hard to get away from that. And then, back in my day, when we only had 4 channels, you did it more one-on-one, but it can really stifle you if you think, okay, that person's really smart. That person's really, got it together. That person's really, and I'll tell you the thing around that, the thing you think of them is probably the furthest from the truth. That's the other thing, is that whatever movie you have made up in your mind about them, it probably is not the case at all.
So I'm sorry to cut you off. I was wondering, I'm not familiar with the term minutia.
Oh.
Yeah, it's poop. Yeah, you're getting caught up in all the...
That's the French word for shit.
Can we say
that?
Out here? We're looking at our producer. Yeah, this just has to go.
That's all right.
Yeah,
okay.
It's don't get caught up in all the shit. Like, it's all this stuff that's down here. Like
the little stuff.
Yeah. And so I want to go back to something that you said, and we're gonna get to you, Blair. You said, this is really good. You defined worthiness and the separation between that and worth. And I think oftentimes people, they attach the two, right? But one, it carries a connotation of value, and the other is almost like the time or the effort, right? And so I think it's very important to separate the two. Like, Don't, because comparison will devalue your worth and make you feel like you're not worthy, right? That's the separation between the two. So thank you for separating those two. Comparison, I think that's really good. So those are some things that Monica said. If you're getting caught up in the minutia, the shit, I feel like I'm gonna say it a bunch of times now because we get to say it, right? If you get caught up in that, then that's where fear comes from. You start being afraid. You get caught up in the small stuff. And I think the older you get, you look back and you're like, why was I so consumed with comparison and letting other people establish and my value and my worthiness? And so I think that's really, really good.
You're letting them rob you.
Oof.
And that you're giving them control.
And sometimes you wish you can just give your knowledge to your past self and say, hey, this is how it really was.
Oh my gosh, that's good. Okay. So you've lived some life, some years. What do you think is something that you can offer other people based on the years that you've lived, the experiences that you had as advice?
I'm speaking as the oldest of my siblings, which is admittedly more than I thought I was going to have at 12.
Okay.
I am the oldest of 6.
Of 6, okay.
And we have quite an age difference. But I like to, I guess I would like to say that a little bit of fear is healthy, just a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, to my degree, what you had told me earlier, Monica, was about letting that fear hold on to you. It really spoke to me this summer because there are a lot of things that I feel like I could be doing if I just kind of let that go, go with the flow of things.
I think the number one thing that you said is really good. And I want to hear what Monica has to say about there being a such thing as healthy fear. And I like the way that you made the distinction between what you're saying and what Monica was saying. Monica is saying that I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid to do. I'm afraid to. You're talking about like the respect of the thing, right? It's like I have a healthy fear of lions. I have a very healthy fear of spiders and snakes, like things that move really quickly. I have a very healthy fear of like disappointing my family. Like some of those things help keep me in check and help keep me honest and sincere, because if there's no consequence to my failure, then I'm out here just doing whatever I want to do. I'm hurting people. I'm right. Yeah. So that I understand what you're saying about that healthy fear. Like a little bit of fear is good for, I think, the heart and the soul. But Monica, elaborate on this for a little bit if you have anything else to add to it.
Well, and I totally agree, because I think people who have had children that can say, oh my gosh, little Johnny has no fear. He just runs and jumps on the skateboard and is down the street. And what if he crashes? Yeah. And so, yes, you have to put, you can't, I have a saying, I call it, don't check your brain at the door.
Ooh,
so
I like that.
Just, don't be stupid. But at the same time, if you think, I want to write a poem. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Like I said, it's not going to bankrupt anybody. You're not going to hurt anybody if you fail. But if you say, the heck with it. I'm tired of this life. I want to get rich, and I've got $1,000 saved. I'm going to go down to the casino and put it on red or black because I have a chance to double. That's reckless.
Yeah, yes.
And so I think that you have to be able to hopefully recognize, and that's hopefully what friends or people that you can, mentors you can talk to say, am I being dumb? And it's like, yes. Yeah. But at the same time, let's talk through why you're wanting to go down that road and how can we do it safely.
Like a step-by-step process.
Yes. So I think that's the big difference is when you are just, I think being reckless is also a part of being selfish. So absolutely. There is that if I have a fear, but if I am not a selfish person, then I am not going to leave any collateral damage. Yeah. So I think that is also...
Right. That reminds me of something I've been speaking to someone about. There's a part where it's like you're being selfish in this moment, or you're being so selfless in this moment that you're like forgetting this is not the person that you are. You're overexerting yourself. And I feel like I often have times where I'm overexerting myself, where it's like, okay, if I go ahead and do these tasks for whoever, family, some friends, I'm helping them and they're benefiting from it, but it's tiring. It's pulling at me. Yeah. I'm tired. Keep going home after work. Like, I really don't feel like I've rested enough. So I was wondering if either one of you could like shine some light on that, how to balance that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I got opinions about everything, but I'll let our other guests jump in there first.
Again, you kind of have to, I think the first thing that you want to look at is, why am I? What's my motivation when you're over exerting or trying to over please, or what's my motivation here? Is it just because I like them and I want them to be happy, or they have a need? I think you have to prioritize some of those to say, I need to help these people because she's been in the hospital and he's got to go do this as a kid. They could use my help. This other person, I really enjoy him, so I'm going to help him because it's kind of fun, but that's killing me. Yeah. I may need to put that down at the bottom. And I think one of the biggest ones is to do a gut check that you're not enabling someone that you're helping a lot too. That is, a lot of people enable because they're such givers that they overgive, and then the other person doesn't grow. And then you start, eventually you'll feel like they're sucking the life out of you. You're probably not there yet. Mm-hmm. So that's another kind of a check, is just the level of what's important. Who really needs this? Do they need it, or do they want the help, or do they need it? And as long as it's my priority is to help who do need it, then make that little checklist. And then sometimes you're going to say, today or this week, I'm only going to do 3 instead of 5. Yeah. Let me see how I adjust to that. Yeah.
That's good. I got 2 things that kind of immediately popped up. If we could think of like a bucket of Blair, and on one end you have a bucket where you don't give anything. No matter who comes, no matter who asks, no matter that's you, and you don't give anything. Versus on the other end of the spectrum, it's an empty bucket because you've given away everything, right? Which means there's nothing left for Blair. And so I think there is, along the spectrum, depending on the situation, the person, the scenario, the time of month, did I just get paid? Or I'm not going to get paid for another whatever. I think there's spaces on there where you're allowed to pour out, right? And if I could name these buckets, I would have one being selfish, like toxic, selfish, like fear, selfish. And then the other is selfless, but a toxic version of it, right? And so I just want you to be aware of where you pour and who you pour into. The next thing I'll say, the second part, is sometimes I think that when we've made selfish on its own a bad term. And I don't think that it always is. I think sometimes we have to protect ourselves, because if we don't, then people will take, right? If we don't hold on to a little bit, if we don't put a top on the bucket, people will reach in and pull. One thing my daddy told me before he passed away, he said, son, people will come to your funeral and replace your position the next day. You will die on a Wednesday and they will hire somebody to do your job on Thursday. So you gotta keep a little bit of something to yourself. The other part, I think, when there's a selfless component, I think sometimes we find we attach our value, our identity to giving. And I think that can be dangerous, because if we are a giver and a doer and we can no longer give or do, then we're trying to figure out who we are. I think another thing we also do is we can use that to manipulate how people see us, right? It's like, I want to control you liking me. I want to control your decision, right? I get something like my skin
kind of like the love bombing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I want to control the way you see me and how you feel about me. When my name comes up, I want you to think this. And so I will control that. I will manipulate that with my generosity. But it's really not generous. It's manipulation, right? And so those are kind of the two things that I thought of. I'm doing more talking. We got guests. I'm sorry, Peaches. Peaches
No,
are
that's
producer.
good. I learned too. But yeah.
And so I think when we're talking about pouring out, there's some people that we can identify as toxic selfishness, and they don't give anything. They don't give anything. I'm reminded of the cartoon of Scrooge McDuck, and he would swim in his money, and like he knew every single cent and every time his grandsons came in there and tried to ask for something, he was like, no, right? It's my money. He would go swim in it. He was doing the backstroke. Like, I think of that. And then I think of the other part where there are people who take advantage of folks because they're always saying yes and have nothing for themselves. I know so many grandmamas that are raising kids, and their kids are coming in their house and taking stuff. And, you know, they live in 8, 9, 10 deep because they don't know how to say no and all. Like, I think somewhere in between is a healthy version of ourselves, depending on the scenario and the situation. Yeah. So you really gotta assess
those boundaries.
Yeah. And I think boundaries are good, not only for other people, but for you as well.
That's kind of hard. It's really hard. I was raised by givers, and at a certain point, one of those givers turned into this is how it's going to be. So I'm just going to sit in it. So I'm kind of unlearning the giving as a senior in college, and as someone hopefully going to move out and be more independent and kind of not necessarily build from scratch, but build based on what I've learned, I guess, over the past few years.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's really hard. But I really appreciate your word on it.
Well, I was just going to add too, really quick too. And this is hard because no one likes rejection or what if. But sometimes it's just say, hey, you know, I'm doing this, and I'm just, you know, would you rather me come help you just once a week? Or do you feel like if I, you know, and they can kind of go, oh, no, dude, I love you coming over a couple of times and helping me with this. Or it might be, well, that might just work out. And it's not because, oh, he's driving me nuts or whatever. They may not tell you. But sometimes it's just, again, easier said than done. But when you try it a couple of times, you can't take it personal. Just kind of say, hey, okay, good. That honest answer helped me carve out time maybe for someone else or myself. Right. So it is just with everybody texting everything, it's a lot easier to text to say,
hey, can't do it. Yeah.
Or and then put that phone down, walk away. That's what I do.
What do you, what do you think? I know we're doing this 3 times, whatever. Would 2 be better?
Yeah,
maybe. Oh, okay. So a scenario that just came to my mind when you said that was, I guess when my relative was sick and I live with my relative. And, you know, she's sick. So you kind of have to, you kind of feel like you need to like do a little bit more. Hey, can you go grab some food from the store? Can you go get my medicine for me? And then kind of transitioning out of it because I believe she had COVID at the time. It was kind of like, hey, can you go? It was still those same things. Hey, can you go to the store? Hey, can you do this or that? But it was kind of to the point, I feel like personally, where it was like, I'm giving. That is all that I'm doing out of this relationship. And kind of working out of that still. It's been a little while. But sometimes it's hard to say no to this relative. And a lot of the time I have to say, will it hurt for me to say no and her to get upset just this one time? Usually, it's a little thing. But I don't know. How do you speak to family members who are used to asking, without actually acknowledging the weight of so many asks. If you know.
Again, I got opinions about everything.
I kind of liken it to sometimes where it's, you might ask someone, do you know, when you go to the bank, you make deposits, and then sometimes you make withdrawals, and right now, you know, they're making more withdrawals than any deposit. So, you know, you're overdrawn. You kind of overdrawn your account. Yeah. So you can't really say it that way, but sometimes it's kind of like, well, I mean, I can, but gosh, it's such a nice day. It'd be good for you to get out a little bit, and you like being around people, or why don't I take you? And then if it's like, well, no, I don't, it's much easier to let you do it all. And it's like, yeah, but I've got some things that I need to take care of. So let's pick a day.
Right.
Let's pick a time, because maybe we can go together. But that's just, maybe I can do it another day. No, I need it today. Well,
yeah.
What do you think? I mean,
I think that's good. That's
you get a little more harsh when you're old.
I think that before, so I like to step behind the actual thing. So the giver taker thing is kind of what we're building up to. But to me, behind that is vulnerability and feeling safe to say something, right? If I feel safe enough to say something, then me saying something isn't an issue. So to me, what I hear is there's some fear associated with saying something. Yeah.
Just a bit.
Yeah. And so, I want to build this bridge if I can, right? Back to what we initially started with, of like fear preventing us from doing things. So you can continue to operate or engage this individual that way for 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, or you can have the conversation and it can change the trajectory of the way that you engage this person. I'm saying if you don't want to do the thing, then assess why you don't want to do it. And then I would say be brave and do the thing afraid and have the conversation. I say no to my wife all the time. You want to go to Target? No, I don't want to go to Target. I didn't used to say that though. I used to be like, oh yeah. And I'd be walking around at Target pushing a cart like with my tail tucked between my legs. And she'd turn around and look at me and I'd throw in a happy face like I love being at Target. But eventually I was like, I don't enjoy doing that with you. She's like, I thought you had fun. And I was like, no, I hate Target. I hate how much money we spend at Target. I don't like all the aisles at Target.
Maybe Walmart?
No, I don't like stores at all. It's so for me now, and that was years ago. We've been married for 22 years. But coming up on the conversation, like I could feel like my stomach just kind of getting tight because I didn't want to disappoint my wife because she was having so much fun, but I was being over here pouring out so much in that area that there was nothing left for me. And so I'm saying, if this is something that you don't want to do, I think saying I don't want to do it is the first step. Do I want to do it? I don't want to do it. Now, what we're doing here, I know our producer just gave us a 5-minute time wrap. I want to identify some of the bridges that we built here today. We have different people in the room, different backgrounds, different faces, different family structures. I'm one of 13. You're one of 6.
I'm an only child.
Only child. Oh, we didn't even get to that bridge. We didn't even get to that bridge.
It's only one way when you're an only child.
Yeah. But we have so many things. I think you built a bridge toward an answer today. Hopefully you leave based on some advice and experience that Monica gave. I absolutely love that when I think about these conversations, how they start, I initially start trying to build a bridge here, but oftentimes we end up building bridges to other places, to other concepts, to other ideas. And on the other side of that bridge is boldness, it's bravery, it's ideas, it's freedom, it's travel, it's all those really cool things. So I want us to close our session today with maybe you've identified a bridge to a destination that maybe snuck up on you today during our conversation. What are some bridges do you think that we built here today?
I think just awareness, I think for all of us. I mean, even when you give advice, you still have to follow it. So even intuitively, I know this. that you have to still deal with it. And it's like, okay, Monica, that is for you too. Just age doesn't make it. Yes. And that it just reminds you how far you can spread yourself out. Yeah. And we're all guilty of that too. So I think self-awareness is really that, intuitively what you're supposed to do. So continue to exercise that muscle of,
because it is a muscle.
Yeah. Yes, that getting out of a rut or staying true to what you know is the right thing to do.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. What do you think, Blair?
I got out of this conversation. Do what you're afraid of. Now don't
be reckless. Don't be reckless. Yeah. Don't be reckless.
Approach with caution.
Yes, with care.
With the knowledge that there are possibilities of it going wrong, but not as wrong as jumping on the opportunity. And I think that I'm going to try to do more things that I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak to that family member and be like, hey, I'd love to help you out, but at this point, this situation, this moment, I'm going to have to decline.
Yeah. And I think there's some tools that, that we can apply. Like oftentimes when a speaker listener techniques of like using I statements of like, hey, I feel this way when I have to go to the store, instead of being like, when you ask me to, right? Because it like puts it on them. And it takes me forever to learn this. I don't like Target. It's not when you ask me to go to this, it's like, that's the start point. The start point is, I don't want to go.
I don't like the destination.
Can we have a conversation, right? I think that's good. I think what I took away from our conversation today is that while some bridges look firm and steady, other bridges look like an old Indiana Jones bridge.
Oh, yeah.
It's so like missing wood planks, and it's like...
And it's falling apart.
Yeah. And somehow he makes it across, and when he gets to that last step, it falls right behind him. But one of the things that I love about that, as you said, do it afraid, is that when it looks solid and when it's look easy, it's not challenging to cross it. It's the ones that are scary and are challenging, and we've never been there before. And so hopefully the people that are listening to our episode today, that you are crossing hard bridges, that you're doing really cool things, that you are addressing the relative, that you're identifying some areas where you're afraid and you're willing to cross that bridge, that you don't let other people define you, that you don't let comparison establish your value and your worth. I mean, Monica was spitting bars today. She was coming with some really cool stuff.
I need some of those quotes on a shirt.
I want to make sure that as we're looking out toward our destination, that we're crossing some bridges, and even though they may not all be the same, that we're crossing them with intention and that we're doing them on purpose. So that's our episode today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Monica and Blair. Hope you had a really, really great time. You can follow us everywhere. Spotify, Apple. Go find us online. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Go to our website, possibilitiesinc.org. Listen to our podcast and support everyone else. Thank you so much for listening today. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Connecting a community through conversation.
Breaking Ice, Building Bridges is the Possibilities community podcast platform. Thanks for tuning in.
As we wrap up, Possibilities would like to give a special thank you to this episode's sponsor, Inasmuch Foundation, paving the way for creative expression in our community. Their commitment to our vision allows us to continue to have these conversations. We are grateful for your continued support, Inasmuch Foundation.